According to UNICEF, close to 160 million children under the age of 5 are chronically undernourished worldwide. And around 3 million of these children die due to undernutrition every year. Our next guest is providing a solution by producing simple products that are full of micronutrients to treat and prevent malnutrition in developing countries. Navyn Salem is the founder of Edesia, a nonprofit U.S.-based food aid company. Her organization has reached over 3.5 million children in 46 countries since starting production in its Providence, Rhode Island facility in 2010. Navyn joins us now from Providence to tell us more about Edesia's mission to save as many lives as possible in the developing world. Navyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, May.
Well, let me ask you, of course, why did you start this? What triggered you to begin this mission to nourish malnourished kids all over the world?
Yeah, so there were a couple different factors. One is that my father is from Tanzania originally. I have a business background and also 4 daughters. And it was kind of those 3 things pieced together that began Edesia and the creation of a social enterprise that is mission is to treat and prevent malnutrition for those children that are most vulnerable. And so I did my research back in Tanzania, where my father, grandparents, and great-grandparents all are from originally.
So obviously you had traveled to the area. So did you witness firsthand what was happening to these children?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been face-to-face with kids and their mothers who are going through really tough challenges, especially in times of drought or conflict and wars. And natural disasters that are a trouble in these countries all the time. And being face-to-face with these mothers is really challenging to be a parent and to raise children in these kinds of situations. And so I realized that, malnutrition really shouldn't be killing children in this day and age. We know what the problem is and the solution, and there's a really easy way to be able to solve this problem.
The one thing I wanted to ask you about, one of the products that you create is called Plumpy Nut. One of the most popular, I guess, and it's also literally life-changing to those who consume it, the kids who actually take it in. There are some transformative stories that you have, but I want to take a look at a picture of a before and after of a child who was eating the Plumpy Nut. This was before, so very, very undernourished, obviously, and this is her after. That's remarkable. So is this a typical transformation?
Absolutely. And so this transformation took place over a 6-week time period. And
6
I think
weeks? That's it?
Absolutely. Yeah. 6 weeks and about $50 worth of fortified peanut butter is able to make this transformation. And just to be clear, I didn't invent Plumpy Nut. It was created by really a collaboration of people, a French food engineer, and nutritionist and others really collaborated to come up with these formulas. And the reason that they're revolutionary, they come in the sachet that looks like this. This is Plumpy Nut. And it's really revolutionary because it doesn't need to be mixed with water or refrigerated. And these are 2 things that just aren't available in the developing world. And so this enabled us to be able to reach children in really rural parts of the world who weren't able to be reached in the past. And so to be able to make this change, really drastic change. I mean, sometimes I'm looking for an earring or a braid or something on a child to even recognize that it's the same child because they've changed so significantly over those 6 weeks.
I'm stunned to hear that it only took 6 weeks for this little girl to become healthy again. So tell me, obviously these products are full of nutrients, micronutrients as they're called. Tell me why micronutrients are so important when it comes to nourishing undernourished and malnourished kids.
Yep. So the Plumpy Nut formula is peanuts, sugar, vegetable oil, milk powder, and the vitamins and minerals. And it really is the milk powder and the vitamins and minerals, the micronutrients that are critical to being able to achieve growth at that high rate. And little people need the micronutrients to develop their brains and their bodies. And if we don't deliver those micronutrients during this critical window of opportunity, then it is lost. We cannot regain that intellectual capacity later in life. And so if we want children to learn in schools, if we want them to live productive lives and do well and get good jobs in their futures, we really need to make sure that we intervene at these critical times to deliver the micronutrients, or the effects are irreversible. Wow. And the fact that we have something so simple that can make this lifelong impact, to not do it is really, a really lost opportunity, and something that we can't afford to not pay attention to.
I totally agree with you, Navyn. So in terms of, you said 6 weeks for this little girl that we just saw photos of. Is that the average amount of time that a child should be eating your product? And if so, how often? How many times a day are they supposed to consume the product?
Okay, so typically they're going into health clinics, and we're working with existing healthcare systems and healthcare workers. Okay. And it's like a food by prescription. And so based on the child's height and age and nutritional status, on average they're getting about 3 packets per day. And this is a full daily allotment. And so if they're able to take this between 6 and 10 weeks, we do expect a full recovery. None of these products are intended to replace traditional foods or anything of the sort. It's really to bridge during these critical times of emergency, really, in the many different ways that they come about. And so we're here to help bridge that gap so that children not only survive, but have the opportunity to thrive as well.
Wondering, though, what happens after they're done with the treatment? They become healthy, but they're still kids and they're still growing and they still need the nutrients. So is there some sort of follow through? What if they can't get the proper nutrition after they finish the program?
Yep, that's a great question. So, I mean, every scenario is really very different. Traditionally, plumpy nut could be used during the lean season during a hunger gap. So if you imagine that your family's harvest is 2 months out, and that's a time where you'll see a spike in malnutrition wards filling up with children, because the parents have run out of money. They don't quite have enough supplies to be able to get them to that point. And that's when we come in and kind of cover that gap. Once the harvest comes in, they're able to get back up on their feet. So we might have an exit program where they are still coming into feeding centers, but we know that soon they'll be well on their way. And whether it's a natural disaster or emergency, similar in those situations, we're there during the crux of the emergency, and as they are able to get back up on their feet, then we can move them to their traditional foods and market supplies of what they would normally consume.
I got to ask you, though, Navyn, you are a mother of 4, and you're doing this at the same time. I mean, I would call you Superwoman, but I mean, what's your secret? That must, I mean, that's got to be tough.
It is, definitely, I can't lie. I've gotten pretty good at multitasking, and I'm not sure which is more challenging, being a mom of 4 girls or trying to feed 1 million children a year. And I would actually have to say that probably being mom is the hardest but most rewarding job, and it makes feeding 1 million seem actually a little bit easier. My girls will be surprised to hear that, I'm sure. But.
That's a pretty funny comparison, but the fact that you're doing both, I commend you for sure. Let's talk about funding. How do you get your funding for your programs, and is that steadily increasing as the word gets out on the work that you're doing?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, funding, so we're set up as a social enterprise, which means that we're selling our products to UNICEF, to World Food Program, and the U.S. government. And they're working with the smaller groups to do distributions as well, all the way down to the field level and that individual clinic level. Right. And funding is always going to be part of the problem. It is increasing, and governments understand the importance of addressing nutrition in terms of looking at their whole country's health and potential for, increasing GDP even. I mean, the impact is that large. And so they realize that we need to invest more, but of course, it's never quite enough, and it's very difficult to balance resources, especially when we have a Syrian refugee crisis over here, and we have one of the worst droughts in over 30 years in Ethiopia, and we have post-Ebola work going on in West Africa. I mean, there's a lot of problems in the world, and so trying to balance where we're able to direct solutions is going to always be a challenge. But at least we know that the places that we are able to reach, like Syria and Ethiopia and West Africa, we're able to see the results and the impact, and hope to continue to do better each time. There's always room for improvement, and there's always room for more funding necessary as well.
You know, I was also really fascinated, and I thought it was great that your plant and your business here in Rhode Island, you actually employ former refugees who have come from different parts of the world. So that obviously was another mission of yours, to try to help those here who have come to the States.
Right, absolutely. I mean, no one can understand being in the position of needing to depend on help from somebody else. And no refugee thinks that they're going to be put in this situation and isn't prepared for that. They had normal lives with great jobs and families and everything, and the next day you're put in a situation where you're depending on someone else for your next meal. Yeah. And so the people who work with me at Edesia really understand they've lived through these experiences before, and that's what motivates them and motivates the rest of our team to work as hard as we do, to get orders out on time, to make sure that the quality is the highest it can, and we do it for the most efficient process that we can do. Because of their stories and their strength and their resilience that they teach us every day is really what makes us special and like a family at our company.
So I'm sure every packet of your product is made with love and a lot more depth to it than just like churning it out, which is great to hear. One last question.
Absolutely.
How can people donate to Edesia? Where should we go for that?
So you can go to edesianutrition.org. And every little bit helps. Even a $50 donation equals one life. And that one life can be revolutionary and life-changing to that family. And so every little bit helps. Please go to our website, check out the information that we have, learn a little bit more about us, and help us. We need all the help we can get to really make an even bigger impact in the years to come. So I appreciate the opportunity.
$50 to save a life. That's pretty extraordinary. Navyn, thank you so much for your time, and the work you're doing is incredible. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much, May.
We'll be right back to meet a social entrepreneur who is giving fashionistas the chance to help school children in Africa. Stay with us.